Okay, I'm going to start over here. Now this is where Elijah had already said the stuff, and it hadn't rained in a long time, okay? But it says, and came the word of Yahweh, see, in his mind, there it was, to him, saying, speaking to him, arise, go to Zarephath, which to Sidon and dwell. See, there I have commanded there, woman, a widow, to provide for you. So it was a command. He commanded it. That means ordained, ordered it, already done. So he rose. It's like, I'm on the way. And he went to Zarephath. When he came to the gate of the city, and indeed there, woman, a widow, gathering sticks. So, he didn't know where he was going to meet her, but it said at that city when he got there, and when he got there, there was a woman there, and he's like, well, let's see how he felt when he got there and he saw her. He's like, well, okay, how do you know it's her, right? Because there's going to be, it said that she would provide for him. So there was something he was needing, and we'll see what it is. Watch, okay? It says here, this is what he needed. And when he came to Zarephath, the gate of the city, and indeed there woman, a widow, gathering sticks. Keep these words right here. And he called to her and said, called and said, okay? There's no noise in called. Called is the expression of what was going to be. It's given the statement of what was going to, something's going to be said. Call don't mean like, there's no noise in the called, but in the said there is. So, and he called to her and said, bring please me little a water in a cup. Read that again. Bring please me little a water in a cup, that I may drink. That's what he said to her. Let's see what she did. And as she was going to get, I guess she like looked at him and was going to go get him some water, because the woman had to do back then. You had to do it. It's automatic. She's going to get him water, it says. And he called to her and said, bring please me a morsel of bread in your hand. Now this is tricky. Said the same thing to her. First one was water, second one was going to be bread. So this was his need. This was what she was there for. She was there for to provide for him. What? Thirst and hunger. And we see it'll be maybe even no longer now. Now she's going to say something. See? Because he mentioned about the bread. Now the water she could get, but now the bread, that wasn't happening. So she said, as lives Yahweh, your God. So it wasn't her God, okay? It was his God, because how did she know? How did she know? I guess there's something about how they looked back then. You could tell that they were Hebrew. You could tell that they worshiped Yah. How? Maybe by their language or their accent or their dress wear. You know, she knew that he worshiped Yah, but she didn't. Okay. So, you know, as lives Yah, your God, she says, not do have I bread, for only a full handful of flour in a jar, a little oil in a jug, and see, I'm gathering sticks, that I might go and prepare it for myself and for my son, that we may eat and die. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get into the rest of it. You check it out. 1 Kings 17:12. The area focused on is called and said, bring please. Okay? Called and said is more or less called, check it out, called, and he called, it is proclaimed, see. So he was proclaiming to her in a statement which was this, said. Said is uttered, utterance, imply. Called and said to her, bring, please. Those are the two. Called, said, bring, please. So, called is the bring, that would be draw. Draw, okay. And then the said is please. He actually, was saying in the word please, if you look it up, bring is to carry or draw, okay? Called and said, bring please, mean draw, I pray thee. Draw, and I pray thee is what please is. To pray is to incite, entreat. Mean no, That is what the called and said, okay? Draw, I pray, he said, little a water in a cup. So, he was saying, bring me a little bit of water in a cup. So he was thirsty first. Because if you're bad off, you don't want food first. You can't swallow it. You got to have water first, then the bread. So now but he doesn't say both of them at the same time. It doesn't say it at the same. It says she then goes, and as she's going, he's sitting there thinking, called and said again, bring please, draw I pray thee, a morsel of bread, and in your hand, okay? In her hand. That meant, that's how much I want. Enough that's in your hand. That's all I need. So I needed a little water, and I needed just a little bread. Go get them. Now it did something to her, because she's like, it involved her life now. Okay? The water, I guess, plentiful. You could go anywhere, I guess, and get water right there somewhere. But the food now, that wasn't happening. She had to bring it out of her own. She couldn't go get it and buy it from someone. She had to, it was involving her and her whole life. And she explains to him she doesn't have enough, basically. She's going to make enough for her and her kid and die. Right. But when he said that the second time for the bread, called and said, bring me a little morsel. Now look at her response. She said, as liveth Yahweh your God, not hers. Which knows, she basically saying, that all I have is this much. Okay? But she wasn't a believer. She didn't believe in Yah God. Not at all. She was just saying that to appease him for his belief of a God. Okay? Not because she believed that God was real. Not at all, because later on you'll find out. So, the water's first, the bread is second, and the Lord told Elijah, which Lord is Yah, God, and the word God in the Old Testament is Elohim. These Yah is the self-existent one, self-existing one. That is the Yah, okay? But the God was Elohim, was governing elements in the Old Testament. When God in the New are epistles, it's theos, the governing elements, you know, the wind and all that. That's what that means, but it's not a name. It's only the defining, you know, power, but no name. Yah was the name of his God, of the Elohim. That's why she said that. So, a lot of people, here's what it is, how faith works with Elijah. He heard Yah, Elohim, speak first to him, already telling him it was ordained. That's what command is. Already done. Go. And he went with no doubt whatsoever. Not even that. He even said some stuff later that doesn't say Yah told him, and he said it, and it says the very words that Elijah spoke were the words of Yah, that he represented Yah God that much. So, when he went to go, it had already been spoken in the elements of, you know, of Elohim, the invisible. Therefore, he then followed through with it, and it comes to pass. That's where they make this foolish mistake saying that faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Like you hope for it, believing it's already been done in your thinking on it, and will bring it to pass here and now, like it did with Elijah. But you know, no, because Elijah didn't think on that on his own. It was spoken unto him to do, and it would be. Therefore, if it's not the living God speaking to the people, and they end up getting, then it wasn't given of the living God, and they're in false doctrine. Because it says, according to his will. See, his will. A lot of times it says they ask amiss. Read it in the epistles. It tells you all that. So these people that have fed money to these men and women that have been claiming the theos, which is God, in the epistles, God is theos, but there's the name has not been used really of Yah, okay? Where Lord is, everywhere the Lord caps are in the scripture, which is old, the first is that means Elohim, okay? Everywhere the word God is Elohim, and everywhere Lord, particularly his caps are, is Yah. But not in the New, not in the Scripture. You see, that's why it claims that, it states that the Son of God is the Lord of Lords, meaning he is Yah of the Adonai. Yah of Adonai, because the lower Lord, lowercase, means the smaller, the under. He was under Father. Now he is over headship. Full headship, see, in the kingdom now. So it's a whole nother territory working with him in his glorification now. But when he was here on earth, the glorification wasn't the same. Even though he was in the glory of the Father and came from that glory, he still was in limited of the realm. So